Oil prices seem to have been increasing non-stop recently, as supply struggles to keep up with an increase in global demand. This has caused many investors to once again feel bullish on the oil sector, as well as trading oil using contracts for different CFDs. Investors can gain exposure to the oil market by investing in oil stocks. But what are the best oil stocks to invest in? In this video, we will take a look at 2 top oil stocks to watch in 2023, explain how to invest in oil stocks, and much more. I would appreciate your subscription to the channel. Thank you. Why invest in oil stocks? Although the world may have begun transitioning to greener energy, the truth is that we are still reliant on fossil fuels, such as crude oil, for much of our energy consumption. As well as being a major source of fuel, crude oil is also used in the production of various other goods, such as fertilizers and plastics. Many investors have turned their backs on oil stocks in recent years, preferring instead to invest their money in cleaner energy for the future. Looking at the longer term, renewable energy stocks may prove to be the wiser choice, as the future of our planet depends on the success of this industry, and it continues to increase its market share each year. However, that does not necessarily mean that top oil stocks have nothing to offer in the meantime. Whilst oil prices are high, which they currently are, companies operating in the oil sector tend to flourish and, as well as providing an opportunity for capital growth, many oil stocks are also reliable dividend payers, something which is desirable in times of uncertainty. Moreover, the majority of large oil companies have already begun diversifying their businesses into alternative, greener energy production. So, with all that in mind, what are some of the top oil stocks to watch in 2023? Types of oil companies. Before we dive into the best oil stocks to watch in 2023, let's take a quick look at the different types of oil companies which exist. The oil industry is usually split into the 3 following sectors. Upstream companies which operate in the upstream are engaged in oil exploration and production. Midstream companies are responsible for the transportation, processing, or storage of oil. Downstream, the downstream industry takes care of refining and distributing oil. All oil companies are engaged in at least one of these sectors, with some of the world's largest oil stocks spanning all 3. Don't forget to look in the comments. Sometimes, clever people write clever things there. Best oil stocks to watch in 2023. So, what are the best oil stocks to watch in 2023? In the following sections, we will be looking at the prospects of 2 top oil stocks. Exxon Mobil. The first of our oil stocks to watch is Exxon Mobil, which is one of the largest oil companies in the world by market capitalization. It operates in both upstream, exploration and production of oil and natural gas, and downstream, manufacturing and distributing of petroleum products. Although much of the last 10 years has been difficult for this oil stock, it has recently shown signs of recovery. Even before the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, Exxon Mobil had been following a long-term downward trend, dropping 32% in the stock market between July 2014 and the end of December 2019 period highlighted in red below. The beginning of this long-term downtrend coincides with the oil crash, which began mid-2014 and ended early in 2016. During which Brent crude fell by more than 70% in price. Until the post-pandemic recovery, oil prices had never really recovered from this crash, and neither had ExxonMobil's earnings. The pandemic exacerbated the problems which already existed for ExxonMobil, causing earnings to decrease further and debt to rise, culminating in the oil stock's removal from the Dow Jones Industrial Average (DJIA) in August 2020. However, cost-saving steps taken by the company during the pandemic seem to be paying off. According to their 2021 fourth quarter results announcement, their cost-cutting measures resulted in savings of $5 billion when compared to 2019. Furthermore, thanks to an exceptional fourth quarter, Full year 2021 earnings came in at $23 billion, compared with a loss of $22.4 billion the previous year. In January 2022, Exxon Mobil announced that it had acquired a 49.9% stake in Norwegian biofuels company Biojet AS in an effort to expand its investment in lower carbon businesses and reduce its greenhouse gas emissions. Exxon Mobil is also a dividend aristocrat, having consistently paid and increased its base dividend every year for 39 consecutive years. Based on its most recent dividend payment and current share price, this oil stock to watch has a current dividend yield of more than 4%. Chevron, the second of our best oil stocks to watch, is another major U.S. oil company. Chevron, although not quite as large as Exxon Mobil, is also one of the largest oil companies in the world by market capitalization and, like Exxon Mobil, operates in both the upstream and downstream sectors of the oil industry. Again, like Exxon Mobil, Chevron suffered as oil prices collapsed between 2014 and 2016. However, unlike Exxon Mobil, Chevron's share price recovered and, prior to the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, had been trading at around the same levels as before the oil crash. Furthermore, unlike Exxon Mobil, Chevron has maintained its position in the DJI, being the only top oil stock remaining in the index. In the chart below, the period highlighted in green is the same as the period highlighted in red on the Exxon Mobil weekly chart above July 2014 December 2019. As with all other oil stocks, Chevron had a difficult time in 2020 as global lockdowns caused demand for oil to plummet. In fact, at one point in 2020, Chevron and Exxon Mobil reportedly discussed the possibility of merging their companies in an attempt to slash costs in response to the declining oil and gas sector, although nothing came of these talks. Thanks to the subsequent recovery in oil and natural gas prices, Chevron reported much improved results in 2021, with full-year earnings reported at $15.6 billion, compared with a loss of $5.5 billion in 2020. Like many of the other best oil stocks, Chevron has been diversifying in recent years, looking for opportunities in lower carbon solutions, renewable fuels, and hydrogen. Most recently, Chevron announced the acquisition of the Renewable Energy Group as it attempts to transition towards renewable fuels. And what about dividends? Chevron is also a dividend aristocrat, having paid and increased its dividend every year for 35 years and has a current dividend yield of more than 3.5%. Don't forget to look in the comments. Sometimes, clever people write clever things there.